I was holding on to like the possibility that maybe I would be in What If. I didn't know Doctor Strange came out at the end. I had no idea.
How has that game, working in that game, shaped your life?
Gosh, I mean, it's changed my life completely.
What are some of the lines that people ask you to say?
I like paint, check. Charges, check. Brakes, nowhere in sight. Like, she's just ready to cause chaos always, so I love that. And then when she screws around with Killjoy, hey, Killjoy, after this, you want to do some tinkering? I think I like that Raze is so physical and out there, and like she's getting dirty and building stuff, and you know, she's always like in her shop, and I think that's really cool.
Hey, what is up, everybody? Welcome to Behind the Voice podcast. My name is Abhi, and I'm joined by Carolina, who you may know as Sombra in Overwatch and Raze in Valorant and many other games that she's been a part of. Thank you so much for taking the time joining here.
Thank you for having me. It's Carolina.
Yes, I can say names very correctly.
Oh, good. You know, it happens every day in my life. So I've just learned to be like, okay, I'll just tell people. Because then if we become friends, then for the rest of my life, they're like, Carolina. And I'm like, oh, I should have said something day one. So now I learned.
Yeah. No, you're right. Like, to be honest, people say my name incorrectly. And I'm like, to be honest, my name is hard to say. So I'm like, it's okay if you pronounce it wrong because it is hard. So that's fine. But how has your year been so far in 2024?
So far so good. I mean, it's been a little bit different. I've done a lot of recordings for video games and animations, but I haven't done as many conventions. So like, because usually I kind of balance since Overwatch came out, a good 5 to 6 years, it was like, you know, maybe a convention a month, and that like split up the time into like really fun travel, but it's a lot. So it's exhausting in a good way. But then, you know, I do the recordings, and this year I've done no conventions, but just kind of like been around LA and then done trips to visit friends. So work and play has been kind of nice and a little bit different this year, you know?
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. Yeah, I can understand, and that's cool that you are still doing a lot of things. Conventions is always something that I wish I could be like, oh, I wish I could go to conventions, meet in person. Something that doesn't really happen here as much, which is
Yeah.
unfortunate. But I know with some of the things that you've done, I know you're part of this kind of funny game showdown thing in April, I guess, with Alana, Bensta, Abubakar. How was that? You were just amazing doing all those voice lines.
My partner is a game producer, a video game producer, and he loves that podcast. He listens to it every day. So we were going to be in San Francisco for the game what's it called, that Games Con that they do. He was like, you should reach out to, you know, Kind of Funny, and I did, and they're like, great, we'll have you on as a guest for our trivia section of video games. And I'm like, I don't know the answer to anything, and this is going to be horrible. I can stand around and dance and be ridiculous. And so Blessing was like, okay, let me think of something. And he was like, okay, how about you read some voice lines? And the first one was the Mario one. And so I was like, if I just go, it's me, or whatever the heck he says, like too obvious. So then I'm like, can I do them in different voices? And he said, yes. So then that's where the idea came from, of doing it totally different. And it threw off the poor contestants, which was super funny. But that's how it came about. Because originally I was just going to be a guest on the podcast, and that didn't, you know.
Wow.
Didn't happen.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you fooled me for sure. And I was like, yes, I knew I was a bad gamer. But yeah, it was great. I love that. You did such a great job. Like you just you know, great. Like I just could not recognize a single one of them. But you had that energy in it, which is I just love. So yeah, it was
Good, cool.
Last year you also worked on What If Season 2, which is very cool. Episode 6. Queen Isabella, and you were at the very end, and it was very cool because I didn't expect when the end happens, you will see Strange in the episode, like towards the end, and your credits has your name next to him. So how is that like?
So, you know what's nuts, as you said last year you worked on? Dude, I recorded that in 2020. So I was holding on to like the possibility that maybe I would be in What If, and I didn't know. You know, sometimes they cut the characters, they cut a script, they change stuff. So I was like, well, I recorded it, and it was a super fun experience. but they kept postponing season 2 coming out. And then I didn't know what number episode I was in. And the way they presented it to me, my episode involved Thor. Maybe they do this to throw the actor off because we're not supposed to be talking about these things because we sign NDAs. So they probably just send script thing. Like there was stuff in the script above, and I only got my scenes, but above and after, there's a little bit of the rest of the episode in the script. And I was just like, I think my episode's with Thor because they mentioned Hela. And yeah, right, dude. I did not know it had anything to do with Katori.
Katori,
The
I think.
character. Yeah. And then I didn't know Doctor Strange came out at the end. I had no idea. We record this in a vacuum and then they put it all together precisely so that we can't screw up and let out the spoilers. So it was a really cool experience. But as I was watching the episode, I'm like, maybe the queen doesn't appear. Maybe they cut me. Maybe they cut. And then I'm like, there's 3 minutes left. I'm not in this. Oh no. And then bam at the end. So it was like the whole time I'm like, luckily, I guess at the beginning when I saw my name in the credits, I'm like, okay, maybe there's one line, but you don't know until you see it, you know?
Yeah. Wow. Wow. That's it's an interesting thing because I mean, I knew that the show came out last year, but I knew like maybe you guys would have done it in 22, but I didn't realize it would be 2020. Which is a long time ago. So, and wow, keeping that secret that I'm in a Marvel animation thing, must be insane. I don't know how you did it.
Well, you do it to keep your job, but the whole time you're like, when's it coming out? And you Google the thing, and like video games, it's like they're like, yeah, coming out in the spring, and then like a year later, might come out in the fall, and you're like, oh man. So.
Oh man, yeah. Like I really enjoyed that. That episode was really cool. And really cool to see your name in the very beginning because I was like, because first of all, I didn't know that you were in any of the episodes. And then I was like, oh, there was in the very first credit mention, it was like, oh, that. And I was like, oh, cool. I remember you posting about something, but I didn't read. And then I went back to your post, like, now it makes sense when you posted for Marvel. So like I was completely blinded, but it was very, very cool to see you there. But you you last year, I think you also released your own, a movie that you worked on, Morgan's Mask. Which was quite interesting. What was it like to play that character and telling that story of Morgan?
You know, so I didn't write the script and it's not my personal story. A lot of people think that it's my story. I produced the film, which means I got the funding for it and we made it happen through a Kickstarter. And but the script was written by the writer director, and I just connected to a lot of the different moving parts of the character. Like I'm not a Twitch live streamer. I mean, I've done it, but I don't game online. So I didn't really understand that. But I have an online presence. So like, you know, talking to fans during the pandemic, like I understood that concept, and I lived with my sister, and so we had a close relationship. And I have 2 sisters, but you know, in the pandemic, it was a lot of like FaceTiming family, and so like the relationship with the mom and sister made sense. I'd had an experience with a not so great boyfriend, and so like the character of Troy Baker like made sense. And so I was like, oh, all these different moving parts together in this story are not my story, but like I connect. So and I just heard so many of the stories from different gamers that come to conventions and tell me like, oh, I went through this, I went through that. And I was like, oh, this is their story too. A lot of them dealing with depression or toxic relationship or online burnout or whatever. So I was like, cool, let's just do this. So it was one of the hardest things I've done because making a movie is really difficult, and putting it out there is even more difficult. But that's basically the story, I guess. Yeah. So it came out a year ago.
It's more than a year. I think it came on April, I believe. Could be wrong. So it was really cool to see that that movie. It was really, I was able to connect in various ways, even though I'm not a streamer or anything. But it was really cool to see that story there, and so I really appreciate that movie being a thing, and to see Troy Baker along, which I did not expect. So I was like, okay, sure. But yeah, the relationship and what's been happening in that world, I was like, oh, that's crazy, because a lot of people suffer from a lot of different things online, different ways, different experiences. So yeah, it was really, really nice to see. And you did a great job, by the way. So Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. I think, and if anything, we just wanted to kind of like, sometimes people need a little bit of hope. Like, oh, I'm not the only one going through this. Oh, I can get out of this. Oh, what are some of the tools? Like, connect with loved ones, do things you love, like get back into your art. I think the cosplay portion of it was cool. We worked with a cosplayer who made the costumes. She was there teaching me how to use the sewing machine so we could show the process of making stuff. And I think that, like, as an artist, if I'm not creating, I definitely get a little bit bummed. So just those kinds of things, like reminding yourself to do the things you love, even if it's 5 minutes a day, so that you can sort of, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's cool. That's great. I've never done cosplays in my life. I don't think so. I can do cosplays in my life because I'm not that talented. But yeah, it's very nice. And you've been doing acting for so long. You're doing voiceover. I'm curious, when did that light switch moment happen where you're like, okay, let's try acting. This is very interesting.
Oh God, the light switch was when I was 4.5, when I was little. I think I just, my mom knew I was very sort of active and hyper, and very social, not very shy. And so they were doing a play in school, and I auditioned because I think I had done a Christmas solo in when they do the Christmas concerts at school, and I loved it. So my mom's like, oh, I think she likes being on stage. So I auditioned for the play, and I got a role of it was um, the Sound of Music. I don't know if you've seen it, but I played the littlest girl in the play. I mean, it was a school play, but I loved it. So since then, I was like, okay, I love this thing. And then I kept trying to do all the plays at school, and I never did it professionally till after college. But it was kind of neat to sort of, learn since a very young age that I loved it.
Wow, that's cool. From four, I remember it's kind of funny because in school I had a one play which I was going to get in. We rehearsed, everything was done. It was the next day the play was supposed to happen, and on that day when we rehearsed and we finished, I went back home and I had a fever, and then it was on till next day, so I could not do the play, and I was replaced by someone else, and I was like, this is great, and I was still good enough to go to this as an audience member and see the whole play, but I'm still like lying on my mom's like lap and just seeing it. I'm like, that's my role. Somebody else is playing it. So yeah, that was
Oh
like,
gosh, no! And they learned it that fast. How did that happen?
yeah, I don't know how that happened. They somehow learned it that fast. I think at least it was happening in the evening, so my lines were less. So she
Okay,
did
okay,
it.
got it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a bummer.
that's
Crazy.
that's how my acting journey. I'm just kidding. Like I just never had that acting kind of like interaction really, but I really was fascinated by acting most of the time. I really thought,
Yeah.
even at this stage, where like maybe I should give it a shot, and then I realized like maybe I'm thinking it in the wrong directions. You know what I mean? Like how some people might think of like, oh, these actors have so great stuff, and maybe I should do acting. I'm gonna get all those great stuff, and I think like I was going into that direction as well. Which
Yeah,
is possibly the wrong one. So I was like, maybe I should not do that, and maybe I should do this. So that's why I did this, and somehow it's
totally.
going. So
Oh my gosh. Good. You're great at it. You're a really beautifully present listener, and you have great questions. And so this, you're good at this. So you found your calling.
I hope so. I hope so. It's a calling. We'll see. But
Yeah.
one of the cool thing that you did is your YouTube, which is doing some comedy series over there, which apparently has also helped your voice work. Like, how is that working on all those scenes, all those things, has really benefited you right now
Yeah.
as you're doing voice work?
Every time I would audition for film and TV, like, you just kind of show up as this persona. And so if it's not me talking like this, then I do this accent because it's like what I can play, Latino. I'm not going to play Indian or African American or Native American. So that's kind of the accent that goes with my face. And and it's usually somebody my age. So uh when I did Hispanic Saxon, I started discovering, like, oh, it's sketch comedy. I can do Russian, and let me do French, and let me do Scottish because they're fun. And I don't look Scottish. I'm a little too ethnic looking or olive skinned. You know what I'm saying? Like, so even though, like, yes, there are Indian Scottish people, right? But like in the world of casting, they get very specific with like, what does that look like? And so my own web series helped me discover these characters I have inside. And, you know, I discovered an old Jewish lady that lives inside of me. She's my manager, and, you know, or like a kid voice. And so that I didn't realize that animation could really be a career. I knew Robin Williams did animation when I was a kid. I loved him, but I didn't understand like this is a whole thing that I could be doing in LA. Because in New York, we didn't get a lot of auditions for animations or video games. So this was like my discovery of different things I could do with my voice, plus wigs and makeup. And I did it all by myself, and I shot and edited everything myself. And so it was like my baby. But then when I got Overwatch, and I started understanding what animation was, not sounds like I didn't know what it was, but I started understanding how it worked in Hollywood, how you get the jobs. All the voice actors I met in cons that year were living in LA doing work here that I wanted to be doing. And so I was like, oh, okay, let me go to LA. Let me try this thing, and let me get an animation demo together. I didn't have one. And so I learned, my God, 10 years into me auditioning for film and TV in New York, I was kind of pivoting. I'd always loved voice work, but this kind of opened the doors to understanding I can do so many things with my voice, and I don't need to look like the character. So that really kind of informed my sense of comedy and character work and accents. And so, you know, it was a free project, like something that I did with no money, but hard work, and taught me so much. It was like my own schooling for kind of moving to the next level, which is now what I do, you know, full time.
Wow, that's great. Yeah, it has worked out so well, and so happy that you decided to do something really fun, which is like, you know, propelled your career upwards. And, you know, like I had someone ask this question, was if you'll be like bringing this series or this thing back to your channel again.
I did in the pandemic. I thought after season 2 I was done. Then I moved to LA, and like I was like, oh, everyone's going to my YouTube channel for Overwatch. Let me cross-pollinate and have the Overwatchers come on as my guests. And then I was like, okay, I'm done. And then the pandemic hit, and I'm like, I'm alone in my apartment again. Let me do this. I think his Spanglish accent always comes back at times when I need it, or when it makes sense, or when I kind of miss the characters. I think now I get to revisit them. Like the other day, I was working on an animation called Big Nate for Nickelodeon, and I play a little kid on it. But they were like, "Hey, we want you to play this old lady," and I'm like, "Does she sound like this? Is this okay?" And so Clem comes out, and you know, and I have a very clear understanding of who she is, so I don't have to like search deeply. So I feel like animation kind of sometimes scratches the itch of like these characters. Um, who knows though? I don't have a definitive answer. They could come back. Who the hell knows? Anything could happen. Yeah.
I think people have watched it at this point would love to see that return, and would really enjoy it because they've enjoying it so much. So let's see. One of the things that I really love that you obviously been in Overwatch as Sombra for so long. You've also been in Valorant as Raze for this time. But your first game, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, is Max Payne 3, I guess, where you did motion capture work for a character, Fabiana Bronco. Yes,
Yeah.
I know the names. But like, what was that? Do you recall anything from that project? What did you do? Like, how was that work done at that time?
Yeah. So I had an agent for voiceover, but I didn't get a lot of work with them. And I found this audition online because they were looking for people who spoke Brazilian Portuguese. And I had lived in Brazil, and I learned Portuguese, and I spoke it really well at the time. I mean, now it's great, but like the accent is probably not as great. But for motion capture, they just wanted a bunch of people to be able to just act with your full body as normal humans on a stage, and then speak Brazilian Portuguese. So I got this audition through that, and I booked it. And it was just like super exciting because you put on the whole bodysuit with the little shiny balls. And I'd never done that. It felt like how they shot Avatar, you know? And so as I was working there, we were working with a lot of Brazilians, and they all had really thick accents in English. So I was like, I got to tell the casting director that I can work in this accent and in a Spanish accent too. So he doesn't just put me in the Brazilian box, which I'm not even Brazilian. So luckily that worked, because then when they did GTA 5, they called me in for Taliana Martinez, and I did an audition. And so I was like, oh my God, thank you, work. And same with Red Dead. Once they were needing mocap for Red Dead, because they do it in chunks. So like sometimes they bring in different people for different parts. And so I came in for mocap for that. And it was just from that first initial audition that I did, via some online website, which was cool. And so yeah, so that's kind of how I worked for Rockstar for so long, for so many times.
Yeah, that's very cool. Like from Max Payne to Red Dead to GTA 5, like all these games that you get to be part of, like Rockstar now knows you at this point. So I'm hoping maybe sometime later, who knows, maybe GTA 6. But it's going to be very cool because after that, you got to play in so many different games. Overwatch was the first one, I think, after that. 4 years later, when the game came out of the Max Payne 3. And it's been 8 years since that game released. Overwatch the very first time, 2016. And now, like a lot of people, obviously, it's free to play. Everybody's playing it. How has that game, working in that game, shaped your life? Being part of these games, knowing all these actors.
Gosh, I mean, it's changed my life completely because you live in this one thing, and then all of a sudden, people are following you on social media, and then you get to meet all the voice actors in the game, and they're awesome. And then on top of that, we start getting invited to conventions, not just in the States, but like the Philippines, Kuwait, Argentina, London, Belgium. It's like, what? And so I end up in these crazy places with friends. I'm not going by myself, and I had never gotten to travel with, I had done films in Mexico and Cuba and Colombia. So you get to work with people there on set, but after 3 weeks or 2 months, you're done. But when you have worked on a project and then you start visiting different countries and with the same people, it's like extended. This family has gone on for the last 7 years because we get to keep attending events where they celebrate that, and we get to go together. So that's how I became so close friends with Anjali. I think we did 9 conventions that year together. We went to Australia. Like, what the hell? It was a 20-hour flight. That's crazy, We want to go to India, but Comic Cons there are, maybe everything gets translated, or it's just a different kind of business entity, how it works there. But I know certain countries like just don't do Comic Cons as much. Or like Brazil Comic Cons are just in Portuguese, so they don't care for English speakers. So I get that, but it would be so cool to be able to travel to India, and especially for Anj, she feels like Symmetra is just so special to her. So yeah, it changed our life, man. It changed our life. And I have a new family now. I moved out to LA since doing Overwatch, and I have friends out here. Like I have people out here, which is incredible,
Oh yeah, must be insane because it's such a great community at this point. People and Sombra Sombra is a character that a lot of people hate, a lot of people love. It's that relationship, and but it's such a great game that I began like a little bit more serious into that particular game. I was like, I think I'm good. Then after a while I realized I think I'm not. So it was I just had a great time. It was such a great community and people love it. And I got introduced to all these actors, got to know their stories. It's very, very nice. And it's very cool that
you're an avid gamer, or it was just Overwatch that kind of was super exciting to you?
I did play games before that. Overwatch, I think, was the game when the demo came out. I played it and I was like, okay, this is very cool. And at that time, I was not working, so I needed to get this. I was so excited. I needed to pre-order it, and I told my mom like, this one game. It costs a bit, but it's one game. And so I bought that, pre-ordered it, and I played it ever since. Ever since that 2016 when the game dropped. That's the day I started playing that. And that was the only game that multiplayer-wise where I got very serious. I did play other games, but multiplayer, I got very serious. I would farm all these things. Eventually, that kind of dropped off. But, that was one of those games that I'm really excited. Formed a small group, which is now broken off. But, like, it just started off very well. So that's kind of has a special place in my heart. Overwatch has always been. And you guys keep on going back to the game because you have new scenes to record, new things to record, new collaborations keeps on happening. What's the feeling like going back to playing that character again and again over the years?
It's not like we go into, like, if it were film and TV and every 6 months we're doing a scene and we go and like, I think it's different. We don't get our scenes till we show up. We don't know if it's going to be, a DLC that involves a whole short film or if it's just new voice lines with the character. So when it's voice work, it's just at this point she just lives inside of me, and sometimes it'll be like, oh, we need to have the accent a little bit stronger because I'll for some reason start doing like not so heavy accent. So we always go to they give us reference, and it's like everything can be hacked and everyone. And so I'm like reminded of the cadence and the tone, and so for me right now, it's just like it's I don't want to say easy, but like she lives there. And even I think the one maybe more challenging thing recently, well, now like a year and a bit ago, was the Frankenstein Halloween thing, Frankenbride. Like they wanted her to be more melodramatic and like, ooh, hello. And she's not very showy usually. She's very like, fuck you. So it felt a little bit different to sort of do that. And it was a little difficult because I was like, Sombra doesn't have emotions, or Sombra doesn't show a lot of like, wow. So it was tricky-ish, but that was it. Yeah.
Yeah. I definitely was a different experience, to be honest. I was like, oh, no, I didn't expect Sombra would be like, but it was like, it's fine. I think she's that now. But yeah,
Well,
all these
for the Halloween one,
yeah,
yes,
for the Halloween one,
absolutely.
yeah. But
Yeah.
yeah, I just every event that happens in Overwatch, I'm just like really happy to see how it's been going, and yeah, it's going really good. And I just curious, like, what do you think, like Sombra? Which character do you think that Sombra would be having a like best relationship with? Which character in the game do you believe that would be the case?
I mean, canon-wise, I guess she has a soft spot for Sigma. A lot of their interaction lines are like, "Hey, old man, what are you doing? Like, let me take care of you," or "What's up? Put some shoes on, dude." Uh, she doesn't say that, but she should. Um, we joke that her and Symmetra would get along because Symmetra's such a perfectionist and so good at what she does, and obviously, I think they're all good at what they do, but there's like a focus that Sombra has that's specific, different to Symmetra's, but I think they'd get along for that reason. I guess that's it for now. I don't know, yeah.
Yeah, no, I understand. Yeah, Sigma has that.
Who do you who do you ship her with?
Oh, like I was actually wanted to, kind of couple it with Symmetra, to be honest. I was like, yeah,
Oh,
Symmetra,
cool.
it makes sense. Like to me, in my eyes, it kind of made sense. Like, okay, that must be the case. And I was like, okay, based on canon, that was not really the case. I was like, I'm just gonna pair it anyway. But yeah, with Sigma, I can totally see because it's like that soft spot. She speaks to him in a different way. I like that relationship. Really, it was really cool.
Yeah,
But yeah,
cool.
with Symmetra, and to be honest, with every single character, I just like the interactions are really fun to see and how it's everything been going around. But one of the other characters that you got to play, which fans in India who play this game quite a bit, much more, is Valorant. They play quite a bit, and
Oh, yeah?
yeah, you played Raze, which is like such a energetic character right there. What do you think? Like how do you get this energy, to be honest? Because all these lines that you have in this game, so energetic and love it. I'm like all these way you say all these different things. How do you get that energy up for playing that character?
Dude, I don't know, but the way they write the lines just makes sense, I think even at some point, the director and writer were like, "You don't have to scream every line." And I was like, "Oh, okay." I think she's just so excitable. So I've liked her character since the beginning, and, in terms of, like, I understood her energy. I'm very energetic, as you can tell. Um, Even when I talk, like, on podcasts, I'm like, "Ah, I get so excited." And I feel like she's excitable like that. So, where do I get the energy? I don't know, coffee, but, the other day I joked, like, I need to start charging more for Raise sessions because at the end of a 4-hour session, I am so tired, uh, which is different to a lot of the other recordings, but it is the character. It is what it is.
Yeah, I love it though. I always wish like I wish I could add that kind of energy because when I listen to all that, I'm like, oh my god, I'm energetic now. Don't know where I'm gonna put that off, but like it's just like all the energy building up and all these lines. I just love it. It's just makes it so cool. And with that,
Yeah.
like, what do you think would be the case if Sombra and Raze kind of like were in the same room together, whatever? Do you think that they would get along? Do you think that, in your opinion, they have some similarities or something? What do you think?
Um, Sombra and Raise. Sometimes I feel like they could be best friends and like hang out and shoot the shit. And Raze is like smart and tough and does all this is fixing stuff. Like she's just I feel like she always has tools in her hand, you know. And meanwhile, like Sombra's like uh typing away. So I feel like they could be complementary, but I also feel like Sombra could be like, fuck you, and then Raze is like, oh yeah, here's my bomb. So I don't know, man. I'm gonna let the fans figure that one out.
Yeah, I think I would go with the second one usually because I feel like Raze might be going, and probably they're gonna go different ways and they're gonna attack each other, which would be very fun to see. Um,
Yeah.
Obviously, playing with these two characters, what are some of the lines that people ask you to say, like in conventions or anything, whether it's Sombra or Raze?
Always the ultimates. Here comes the party and apagando las luces. Definitely. And then sometimes I'll just say, "What's your favorite line?" But I always do. Everything can be hacked, and everyone. I like paint check, charges check, brakes nowhere in sight. Like she's just ready to cause chaos always. So I love that. And then when she screws around with Killjoy, hey Killjoy, after this, you want to do some tinkering? Um, and then like I love how Ray's messes with Brimstone and girls' night ooh, ooh, with Viper. Like so I think she has a lot of fun little interactions that are sweet. And then Sombra's interactions with people like Cassidy when he's got a cactus vine in his butt and she's been like, hacking his internet search history. Like, I love that. I love that she makes fun of Tracer. I love that she's always poking fun of people. So there's just so many good ones, man. It's good writing, you know?
Yeah, it is good writing. There's so many good ones, and yeah, with Killjoy, there's this thing that obviously Valorant has put out, and there's this kind of canon thing where there's a relationship between Raze and Killjoy, and they both love tech. They love spending time with each other. So, what do you think about this relationship that's been formed now at this point between Killjoy and
Uh,
Raze?
I'm all for it, man. I love it. I think it's sweet. I think they care about each other. So I support it. Whatever. I mean, yeah, love is love, you know? So
Yeah, I love that because I'm happy that Valorant, the community also is like kind of appreciating it, bringing it together, and really the storyline that's been built upon on that has been pretty cool. And
yeah.
yeah, I just love the character and the interactions for both of these characters, even Raze and Sombra. But Raze has this idea of like coloring and paints and stuff. If you had like this ability to, let's say, create a costume or design for Raze, like what kind of colors would you kind of mix together for her?
Oh man, I mean the rainbow, right? Because just because she's got her explosives. What are they called? The paint.
Oh my god, if I can only remember.
Yeah, those. She throws those things in the spray paint. And so, but I think like yellow and green. It's very Brazilian colors and blue, the flag. But yellow and green, I think, are her main ones. Dude, I just got some awesome Air Jordan sneakers from a fan, and they say "Raise Boom," and they're yellow and green and a little bit of orange, and they're freaking awesome. I'm gonna post about them today. They're just so cool, man. So yeah,
Wow, that's so cool. Yeah, wow, just saying that was like, oh man, I would love to see that. But yeah, it's so yeah, all these people who create like all these different things for the game for the characters, like fan arts and all these different kind of stuff is so cool to look at. I'm like, there's so many amazing, talented people that post this
yeah.
stuff out there online. It's incredible to see all the supports that they give to the characters. But recently, another game that you were a part of is Dead Island 2. You played Carla, and
Yeah.
yeah, it was cool to see because we have different characters in that game, and every different character has different personalities, and it's not the same thing. And so you have different conversations with the same NPC in front of you. But like, how was that? How was recording that game different from the others, or was it the same sort of thing?
That one's different because it's not so many shout outs like first person shooters where you're like, help, come here. Do, do, do. This one was because it's six different characters that can be played. There's already these pre-written scenes, and they always have the other character, how they're responding, but we say different things to them. So we have to go in and I record I hear that character's response, and then I see like the space I have to respond again, and I have other lines. So it was kind of like doing scene work, which was cool because you also get to see while it's called the animatic, like it's not fully finished animation, but it's getting there, and so you get to see like what's happening. I like that because it's like a scene flow instead of just line after line after line. So that felt cool. And Carla's a little bit insane, dude. She talks to zombies all the time. She's like, well, if I die today, I die today. I'm gonna blow you motherfuckers up. Like she's kind of like Michelle Rodriguez in films, and she's just a little crazy, in a good way, in a good way. So she was fun because she was fearless, man. Like, this character was just like, I mean, I've survived this far, and so if I die today, I die today, but we're going in with, like, my bazooka, and that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Just badass, you know?
Yeah, yeah. And I think you said somewhere that you're sort of channeling Michelle Rodriguez on this.
Yeah, yeah, I felt like because the way the lines were written, you know, a lot of the roles for Latinas, they always mention Michelle Rodriguez, but I feel like, for example, Sombra and Raze are very different to that. But in this case, like Michelle made sense because she's just a little off kilter, ready to blow some stuff up, like in the Fast and the Furious, you know?
Oh yeah, yeah, that made perfect sense when you said that. I was like, yeah, it makes sense because
Yeah.
it just connects so well, and Michelle in Fast and Furious is just crazy as well. So it make complete sense. And another thing that you also mentioned that you're not fan of zombies somehow.
Dude, no. I think they're so disgusting. Every time I'd see, like, one of the weird zombies coming towards camera, I'd be like, "Ah!" Or then when they'd explode and, like, guts would go everywhere, I was just disgusted. And I watched Last of Us because it's a really good TV show, but I did not watch The Walking Dead, and I just don't enjoy zombies, man. What can I say?
No, I totally understand. There's like a lot of gore in it, and it's different. And so, is it just the zombies, or do you like not watch also movies that has a lot of gore and blood and all that stuff?
I mean, zombies specifically, yeah, no. I don't love horror films. I acted in a horror film. It was really fun to do. I think, yeah, a lot of the gore definitely is not my thing. Uh, I like suspense movies or thrillers, but yeah, if it's just a lot of bloodshed, like I guess a Tarantino film is different. I can laugh at that a little bit, but with the zombie stuff, I'm always like, "Blah, blah, blah," or like, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I totally understand. I think one of my sisters watched one of the alien movies. I don't know the latter one, the last one. I think so. And there was like some gore in it, and she was like, "I did not enjoy that." I was like, "Yep,
Yeah,
it's
yeah, no. Not my
yeah,
thing. Not my
yeah,
thing.
totally understandable." But like you're doing so many work, you've done so many video games now, and continue to do so. Obviously, there's more to come. How do you keep yourself kind of motivated to keep pushing through? I know there's a lot of auditions you do, and all these auditions you get, some of them booked. So how do you keep yourself pushing through to like, okay, let's do it, let's wake up next day and continue and try once again?
It's just the nature of the beast, you know, you kinda have to. Some days it's hard and you're like, "Shoot, like, the I haven't gotten work in a while. This is a little bit stressful," or because sometimes it's not about the money in the sense, like, it's not like, "I need a job now to pay my bills." Like, let's say I just booked 3 jobs, and so, like, you're feeling okay about bills, but as a normal human, I like to go to work every day or do something that, like, you know, feels like it's contributing to my life. And sometimes we spend so much time trying to get a job and not time doing the job that can get difficult. And we want to be fulfilled creatively like that. So it can be hard, but you know, you just remind yourself of what it feels like when you do get the job and how much you love it when it's happening. And I mean, yeah, part of auditioning is still learning and practicing the acting. So some days are harder than others, but yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I totally understand that. I keep reminding yourself about why you loved it in the first place is something that
Yeah.
is important, and I'm trying to do that as well, which sometimes is hard, but like I'm just getting there, I guess. But
Yeah.
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 So well, there's some fan questions. A lot of people have some questions about the character. One of the general questions was, Are you being called up by Valorant or Blizzard, or sorry, Riot and Blizzard, like often to record new lines, or is it different? Like that's one of the general questions I got to say.
It's, I wish it was all the time. Usually what they do is they prep a lot of the, like, events or season things all in one. So they'll call us once a year and we'll record that and that's it. You know, we do them all in 4 hours instead of like, oh, every month I get to go in and record. So we don't get to revisit them as much as people think. If there's a new character and there's something happening, of course, but I haven't recorded for Overwatch in a while since the Maulga short came out. And that obviously we recorded a lot before the short came out. So like it's been a while, you know. Same with Valorant. So I think it's just sometimes it depends on like maybe they're focusing on a storyline of another character or you know, updates are different. So it's not that often.
Oh, that's good to know. Interesting.
Yeah.
I'm Builder asks, were there any tweaks to Raze's personality or looks that you specifically requested?
Looks for Sombra or Raze?
Raze.
Oh gosh, no, I don't have any say in that. They create her and then they show her to me. And I'm like, "Oh, cool," you know. Sometimes I can I for both of them I've recommended voice lines or done improv and then it gets into the game, but we do not have a say in how they look, at least in these games. Maybe in other games it'll happen at some point, but like I am working on another game where they had some possible names for these characters. And I'm like, that name isn't too typical from that region of that country. Maybe let's try. So like you get to sometimes like give some input, but usually it's them doing all that stuff.
Yeah, that makes sense. Bissell, I'm pronouncing that incorrectly. If you made a paint grenade, what colors would you put in it?
Green and blue.
Oh, those are great colors. I love those.
Those are my favorite colors.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Blue is my color, as you can see already. It's my mom's favorite color, somehow it came to me. So I just love blue. So and green somehow
Oh,
mixes well, in my opinion, with blue. So
yeah,
it
yeah.
works. Yes, I love it. FI Citizen asked they said that their favorite voice line for Sombra is "I need a drink." So what's your favorite drink?
Ooh. I love a good gin and tonic, but I'll have a margarita any day. It's a good one, yeah.
Yeah, I can only understand that. FPS frame rate asks, if you could become any character that you voiced, who would you be and why?
Oh my goodness. I mean, not Carla because she's in Zombieland. Um, Sombra or Raze, of course, they're the two special ones in my life right now, and they're so different. I think I like that Raze is so physical and out there and like she's getting dirty and building stuff and you know she's always like in her shop and I think that's really cool. I also just love that Sombra, I mean her freaking invisibility powers and like translocating, like all of that stuff would be so cool if we'd get to do it. So, I mean, I guess any of those if they take me.
It would be great. To be honest, having that invisibility power is something that everybody probably wants. Just go
Yeah,
invisible probably and just go around. It'd be great.
yeah.
Aita Carmoni asks, if you were to have a conversation with your childhood self, what advice would you share with her?
Take a chill pill. Like relax a little, like, when I started auditioning when I was 21 or 22, I felt like, "Oh god, I didn't get this one, okay, well, maybe the next one," and it's like, dude, it's not gonna happen for years, so just get used to that, but keep showing up as if it were a fun event. Like, go to the audition and do the thing, and then it's so easy to say, "And don't think about it and keep going," but, like, because it's our career, we, you know, do that, but I think that it's just, like, understanding that things take time, and sometimes we don't get to work on a project till later because that's when the connection made sense for it or like you make a friend when you're 20 and then at 30 they're like, I wrote a film, I want you to be in it. What? So like all the contacts you're making and the friendships and the relationships, they grow with you and sometimes they all take a while to mature. But then just where you are in life too, like all the things that you're doing are teaching you something to put in your little toolbox. So keep that toolbox around and keep learning shit, you know, and don't put so much pressure on yourself that it has to happen so fast. Like no expert. I mean, yes, there are a few geniuses and a few really lucky people, but you're usually not like succeeding at 20, even 30. You're just starting to figure out the real meat of your craft. You know what I mean? Like I feel like we keep getting better all the time. So
Yeah. Wow, that's a great advice in general, to be honest. Something that even I need to listen from time to time, which I always keep on forgetting, and I have to bring myself back 3, 4 days later. But yeah, that's a great advice.
yeah.
Electro Hama asks, "What was your experience working on the Maulga animated short, and what your opinions are on how it came out?"
Oh, it was super cool. I mean, it was just one session, 2 hours or something. And I love Maulga. I think he's hilarious. I love that he calls me Psalms. Hey, Psalms. Like he's kind of like a big lovable idiot. He's not an idiot, but like he does some effed up stuff. And this is the first time that Sombra's frustrated. She's like, "What is happening?" So that was interesting. I thought it was fun. I enjoyed it. I mean, I have no other. I think it came out great, and I just want more short films.
Yeah, yeah, that's one of the things that I want more. Like Overwatch should have like a movie or series. Like just cook it up. Like it's everybody's been
Yeah.
asking for it for so long. So hopefully sometime that happens. Unhappy Wasteland ask, where is Raze taking Killjoy on a date night?
Ooh, I think she would hop in her little motorcycle and drive all the way up to a favela and sit at the top where you can like see the view with 2 beers and a sandwich. Like a little picnic, like under a tree, but overlooking the view that they have of Bahia.
Wow, that's a great spot. Yeah.
It wouldn't be fancy. It would be like, "Come on my motorcycle, girl. Woo!" You know? Hold on tight.
I think that's a great place to be. And it makes complete sense with Race. Yeah, it's great. Dissimulation is good. Ask, what's a video game series you would love to work on?
I mean, Apex seems like a cool one. If I were to play like a different nationality. Um, Something like Last of Us would be cool, to work on. Absolutely. I think I think I would like to do more story-driven ones. So the first person shooters are fun, but you don't get to do scene work with other people. So I don't know, anything that involves like acting and scene work would be really cool.
Yeah, I mean, to
Yeah.
be honest, Last of Us Part 3 might happen. So you never know. You never know.
Yeah, maybe I'll be a zombie in that.
Yeah, that would work out very well.
Gosh.
IZ911 asks, what character did you envision or take inspiration from when voicing Race?
It's funny, at first I thought she was gonna be like a Brazilian, like a female version of Lucio. And then, uh, you know, I started recording like with Lucio's energy. And then with the writer and the director, we were like, she's more loving, she's more family oriented, she's more community builder person. She's got dad jokes. Like I started understanding her differently, and she wasn't just I'm a badass and I'm going to build a bomb. It was like now I'm funny, but sometimes my jokes aren't great. Or hey, surrounded by minha familia. Like I want you to all win with me. I want you to dance at my funeral. And so I don't think that I have like a person in my mind, like where I took the inspiration from. I think together the three of us built her, and as I did improv and as I threw ideas out, and then they would give me ideas, I was like, oh, because usually like badass chicks in video games aren't like, hey guys, we're family. I mean, I guess Fast and Furious is La Familia, so they talk about that, but the idea that she really does care to like pump up her teammates, and she is the community builder, I would say, rather than like Jet is a little shithead. Viper is like, I'm so cool and amazing and sexy, and I'm a badass, like Hella kind of thing. And so I think that she really has a lot of love. And so when you kind of put those all together, it's its own thing. And so I don't know where the heck the inspiration was, just a build up of all the things that we were doing together at that session.
Yeah, makes sense. It's interesting to know that you started from Lucio. It's like, oh,
Oh yeah,
that's pretty cool. Like now kind of makes sense, like, the energy wise and how Lucio
yeah,
is, who is his lines, all his work is amazing. Like, my God. I just keep on saying Lucio all the time. So yeah,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
just really cool. Ill to Death asked, if you had an idea for a Sombra skin, what would it be?
I've always said that you should wear a 1920s flapper dress because, like, cool. Um, I'll stick to that for now. Or a steampunk ballerina outfit. That would be ridiculous. She would be like sulking and hating it, but I think in the end she'd be like, "This is kind of cute." Okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
I like that. Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah. 164 Gaming asks, how has your perception and portrayal of Sombra as a character evolved over the years?
You know what's funny? I mean, she's evolved, I guess, inside of me, but like, when you watch the first episode of Friends and then you watch season 5 and the characters are kind of still the same, like, but they've grown, but they're still in essence that personality. Like, I feel like since the beginning, Blizzard had a very clear idea of who she was, and so that stayed very clear. I don't think she's changed a lot. She's evolved in me in the sense that, like, now I understand her so much better. I understand context of, like, I didn't know what an ultimate was when we first recorded. I didn't know what respawning was, and these lines were gonna be during respawning. Like, now I understand what's happening, and now I understand the relationships with the other characters, because when we first recorded, they could have said, "Yeah, Tracer's British. She's the nice whatever. Yeah, Soldier is this guy." Like, but I didn't have a concept of that. Now I do. So now I can go, "Oh, I'm saying this to Sigma. Okay, I'd say it like this." I think the relationships have evolved, and that's really cool.
Yeah, you're right. Relationship has definitely evolved, and it's cool to see all these relationships building up and growing up over years.
Yeah,
It's really, really
yeah.
nice. One last question is, El Cordilo. I'm so sorry, I'm spelling up. Great. What's your expectation for the future of Overwatch, or of Sombra character?
Expectation. It's hard to say expectation. Let's say hope. The hope for that is, I mean, in a great ideal world, that some like more short films or like a TV series would be so cool, just because we obviously want more backstory and we want more interaction. So that would be super special. Um, I think I want the game to still be beloved, like, I don't want y'all to get bored. So hopefully with all these, like, this Transformers collaboration and all the different things that they're doing, like the one that they did with Cowboy Bebop, I thought was cool. Sombra's like the freaking hacker. She looks rad. How awesome. So that kind of stuff is cool. I just hope that it's really about the gamer community and what they feel. So I just wanted to keep sort of feeling exciting.
Yeah, that completely understandable. Yeah, but
Yeah.
these new events are also coming. Very cool. Excited for the Transformers one. It's actually out right now. I have not played it. My God. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's exciting for that. But I just want to say thank you so much for coming by to talk about Sombra, Raze, your life, and everything. Thank you so much for taking the time. Really, it's really cool.
Absolutely. Thank you. Great interview. You're awesome. Let me know how I can share and all the good stuff. But thank you. This has been great.